was a huge realization for me to understand that I wasn't my thoughts. Because I nearly tried to kill myself twice in my 20s from that negative voice that we have in our head, those thoughts that you're not good enough, you're not worthy, life is too hard, too painful.
Welcome to another edition of the Living Boldly with Purpose podcast. I'm Dr. B. I'm your host. And it is so funny because I think, as I think of God and the universe and the things that happen, they all happen for a reason, and they happen kind of sometimes in waves. And I have been talking about my health, and I've been talking about what different things I can do. Even this morning when I did my recap podcast, I talked about going into, last time I had Dr. Gupa, he's from New Jersey. I had a health center in New Jersey, a wellness guy, on my show about a month ago. And he's been helping people reverse type 2 diabetes for the last 10 years through things like meditation, through, some of his chiropractic stuff, through diet. He says you're not mostly what the food you eat because it's the way that the food reacts to the seeds that are in your body. But anyway, so I started on this journey now of eating better and then going through some of these things to reverse my diabetes and reverse the things that I have. And then I get now today, we get to talk to Baba Sam. And we were talking about a little bit earlier in the show, and he's talking about how he became the miracle man and all the things that he's done and how he doesn't have any health challenges and, how the world is just this amazing place. And I said, wait, stop. We got to get this recorded because I want all of you to know about this amazing world that we get to live in. And Baba Sam is just an individual who has figured out the formula. I'm not going to say he's figured out the fountain of youth, but he looks really good for 110 years old. I'm kidding. 10 years old, but at the same time, to be able to wake up every single day and not have any health challenges, and to wake up every single day and know that the next day that you get to have will probably happen because you're not worried about, our health or life. I was also talking about this today on how hard it is to navigate our healthcare system that doesn't even keep you healthy. It's a system that, is designed to just cover up, to medicate, to have you on hold, to charge you a ton of money, and then you don't even really get the help you need. And I was thinking about like some of the meds that they're asking me to take that I refuse to take, and some of the things that they're telling me. Well, I said, is this going to fix me? Is this going to cure me? And they said, no, it's just gonna help you maintain where you're at so you don't go further backwards. And like, how's this going to help me not go further back? And as soon as I tolerate whatever you're putting in me, then you're going to give me something else. And so last time, just to let you know, I'm almost the last conversation I had with our healthcare system is there were some pretty expensive drugs they wanted to give me. I said, I can't afford $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month for these drugs you're trying to charge me. And they said, well, your only other choice is insulin. I said, so because I can't afford these other drugs that won't have me on insulin, you just want to give me insulin so I can be dependent on it for the rest of my life and mess me all up. So that's my story. I don't want to spend my time on my story. I want to spend my time on your story because I want to know exactly what you have done, what you're doing. You started telling me a little bit about thoughts, so I can't wait to hear that I'm not my thoughts. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Please, like with all our guests, we're going to start out with his story, and then him and I are going to just chop it up with whatever you guys need as we are on this wealth and wellness journey, and we get an example of somebody who's doing it. So, Baba Sam, please, the floor is yours. Tell us what we need to know.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Dr. B. Really a pleasure just to share some time with you to go through all these challenges that I had. So basically my story, just a little bit of my story, that I was hit by a van at age 6. I was actually, it's the last day of school. I don't know if you're familiar, if you're of my age, you heard the old familiar sound of the ice cream truck. You
Hmm.
bug mom for the money and you run out and you get your ice cream. Well, I did that, but I was coming around the ice cream truck and a van ran over me. So that caused, traumatic brain injury, a damaged elbow, a broken hip. Like I spent nearly a year in the hospital. So my health challenges began there at age 6. So what they discovered that they didn't know back in the 70s, that we have traumatic brain injuries, traumatic injuries at that time, there's usually a mental component with it. Like bipolar is very common with kids that have experienced early childhood trauma. So I was going through school, high school, college, etc., as an undiagnosed bipolar. So it was a real adventure in my life that I was a bipolar but not diagnosed, but I had the health challenges as well from the accident. So and in my 20s, I was suicidal. So after being suicidal, I got the diagnosis of being bipolar. So I was dealing with life as a bipolar. I had chronic migraines, really bad migraines. Then I was filled with all this self-criticism, judgment, all this stress, and that sparked autoimmune diseases like psoriasis. That psoriasis got into my joints, so that's psoriatic arthritis.
Gosh.
Then, because I was really in place of a lot of place of judgment and criticism, so that sparked another autoimmune disease. At age 37, I had the worst migraine of my life at age 37.
Okay.
And I called my neurologist and like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel normal. So it was on a Friday. He says, I'll
Hmm.
give you some medicine to take over the weekend, some extra stronger medicine, my normal migraine stuff. And so I was seeing him Monday, but this time by Monday, it was really starting to get hard to get walking and moving and functioning. So by Wednesday, I was admitted into the hospital. And then I was in the hospital for a few weeks, going through every single test, and they finally concluded that I had multiple sclerosis. So at this time, when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, my whole left side of the body was numb. I couldn't see. The whole body was just shutting down. So I lost the ability to walk at age 37. So I had all these health issues. So I never had any concept that I could heal myself. And if you even look at all the articles and all the videos out there, they'll say that you're stuck with these diseases forever. They call them incurable. But I
Hmm.
see that simply a story now, that it's just a label that someone has given you. It's not necessarily your truth. But so what happened to me, I was really stuck with all these health conditions. I needed a cane. I needed all this stuff for multiple sclerosis, taking all this medicine. I just had a ton of health challenges. So I used to be a couch potato because I was so sick, disabled, fatigue. I was a couch potato. So I used to watch a lot of TV. I used to watch ghost hunting shows of all things. I used to watch ghost hunting shows, but I didn't know if it was real or fake. It was TV. I didn't know. But then I saw a tweet from a ghost hunter. So, okay, I can go on this ghost hunt that was in the city in Philadelphia. So I booked a hotel nearby because I know it was in the summertime, and I was good for about an hour with my cooling packs, my cane, all my gear, my setup to go travel. So I went on this ghost hunt, and I felt somebody during the most of the night was boring, but for one part of the evening, I felt somebody sitting next to me, right next to me, that
Uh-huh.
wasn't there. So somebody sat down that next to me wasn't there.
No
So
way.
so I was
Okay.
like, okay, well, that's interesting. So ghosts are real. So now I had a direct experience that this wasn't TV, that ghosts are real. But I was curious. Okay, that was a fun experience. But okay, now what are ghosts? What is this over here? So it's like, all right, well, who speaks to ghosts? Oh, mediums do. Mediums talk to ghosts. So I was like, all right. So I started to read some books from a medium. But I was dealing with the MS too, so I could read for about 5, 10 minutes a day, and that would be it, or else I would get a migraine. So slowly going through this book.
Mhm.
Then eventually they talked about meditation and how they use the meditation to talk to the spirits. But during this, they talked about the benefits of meditation. One of the benefits was inner peace. It's like, I need inner peace. I was so stressed out, so overwhelmed with life. Like most of us are stressed out and overwhelmed because The mind's always yammering away. The world's got all these complications and difficulties. So we just need to know we all can use some inner peace. So it's like, all right, meditation equals inner peace. All right, I'm going to meditate. We're going to just try 5 minutes a day and see what this does. So, first, I was under the impression that meditation means you stop thinking. So, I would sit there in meditation. Of course, the mind starts thinking. That's what the mind does. So, I would be sitting there, mind thinking, stop thinking, mind thinking, stop thinking. Then, after about 3, 4 days, I realized wait a second, wait a second. If I'm aware of my thoughts, then I'm not my thoughts. This was a huge realization for me to understand that I wasn't my thoughts, because I nearly tried to kill myself twice in my 20s from that negative voice that we have in our head, those thoughts that you're not good
Mhm.
enough, you're not worthy, life is too hard, too painful, all those mental stories. So when I realized, okay, I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. Well, if I'm not my thoughts, then who am I? So I was sitting with this question of who am I for 2, 3 weeks, and I had a very simple practice. It was basically 5 minutes twice a day. It was very simple. Well, one evening after meditation, I simply heard a voice say, "Perfect spirit." I'm like, that's it. My spirit is perfect. Dr. B, your spirit is perfect. Everyone listening, your spirit is perfect. It's untouched by the human experience. So when I heard the voice say perfect spirit, I'm like, that's it. My spirit is perfect. I'm not the damaged body and mind. Then I just had this deep sense of peace come over me. I just knew that all was well, and I knew all my health challenges were over at that point. And they were. It took a little while for the body to catch up, but it did catch up. And from that day forward, things got better and better and better with my health. And over the next, I guess, about 14 months, the body made a full recovery, no cane, no medicine, no doctors. Last time I saw my neurologist, because I was really curious, let me see, now that I'm healthy and everything, let's go see my neurologist because I had three of them. Let me go see one of
Wow.
my MS doctors. Let me go
Okay.
talk to one of them and see what they
Yeah.
had. So I scheduled an appointment. I schedule all the tests. So I get the scans done, the blood work. I get everything in place for my last appointment with him. I just want to see what he has to say about this. So he pulls up the chart and he's like, well, your scans are clean. Your blood work is nearly perfect. Let me do a physical exam. He's like, all I see is a non-specific hand tremor that everyone has. And since I was the last appointment of the day, he sat me down and he questioned me for 45 minutes trying to understand what I did because it didn't make sense to him. But people don't walk away from this. But
Mhm.
yet I walked away from
Incurable,
all
right?
of it. Yeah, incurable. It's just a story. So that's
Oh my
basically my
God.
story.
So for 45 minutes, he questions you, and what conclusion did he come up with?
He had no answers. It wasn't until I ran into Dr. Gabor Mate at a conference about, I guess I ran into Dr. Mate about 2 years later after I saw my neurologist. I ran into Dr. Mate, who's this really famous pediatrician that goes around now talking about the how stress and health trauma is really affecting the body. He's also a really good guy to talk to. I was telling him about my story. He asked me some questions, and he basically summed it up as like, "Oh, you stop taking your mind as the source of truth."
Mm, mm.
That was his conclusion, was like, yeah, I stopped believing my mind. That was basically it.
Well, this part of our mind has to be truth, though, right? I mean, we have to discern between what's truth and not truth, or you just saying everything that's in our mind is not
No,
true.
well, the thing is, the mind is trying to judge what is true for you. It's always that skill of discernment, because what is true for you, Dr. B, will not be true for another person. It's relative to the person's perspective. But this deeper truth within us is the actual truth, the one that your spirit, your soul contains the truth. And we have to discern what's coming from this deeper place and what's coming from the mind's perception, because it's always wearing these rose colored glasses. It's seeing things a certain way. It's like, what they say about a crime scene, like 5 or 10 different witnesses will all see something different based on their own perception. So it's really to understand that what I think is true may not be true for another. What I think is good may not be good for another. So we have to realize that most truth that we're living on is relative to that person and their perception. But the deeper truth is within us. So it's really about tapping into this deeper place within us and discerning, does this feel right to me? Does this feel like my truth? or is it a mental bias coming up, a mental interference, and then discerning what is best for you. That's why I really teach individuals in my inner healing school that I have is you live in your body, you know it the best. Others are just guessing what's best for you. And following their recipe may give you some results, but it's not going to give you the ultimate result that you're looking for. The answer is within you, that you are the solution, that there is nothing to figure out in regards to your health. Because figuring it out is a mental interference, because within you is spirit soul, and it knows exactly your path to healing, the path to curing diabetes, multiple sclerosis, fiber, cancer, whatever it is. You are the solution.
So, well, I want to try to kind of jump back into the truth because I think there's some absolute principles that are truth. And like what you were saying, the truth is deep within. For something to be true, that can change. Like it's true that I'm sitting on this side of the screen with you today, but that's not going to be true in an hour, because in an hour I'll be doing something else, right? So that's kind of how I see what's true. But we keep always talking about, well, I got to find my truth. But I think some of the things that are principles or something that are part of how things work, isn't that what's truth?
Yeah.
Or even that's a perception?
Well, what you're talking about, like you sitting there in this part of the stream, is a fact. That's a
Mm-hmm.
fact that you're there. That's not a truth. It's a fact, because facts
Okay.
change all the time. So, but a truth would be like gravity. Like
Okay.
it's one of the universal laws, like gravity. Like we can all agree that there's gravity on this planet. There's air
Yes.
in the there's
And
air
that
that
we're
we breathe.
breathing. So that's the truth. But the
Right.
perspective doesn't matter. There's still gravity, whether try jumping off a building and not believe it's not there, right? It's
Right, exactly. That's the truth, right? It's those universal laws that are true regardless of your perception. That we all need air to breathe. We all need food to eat. We all need, gravity keeps us on this ground. There's some universal truths, and everything else is relative to our perception.
okay. That makes sense. And so you're talking through. You're married, correct? Are you?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
married.
Is your wife just as healthy as you guys do this together, or is it just because you've been able to heal with inside, or you've been able to teach her to be the same?
Well, that's really interesting, because I don't have any more chronic diseases anymore. They're gone. But we have to realize that we still have this human body, and it is fragile. It's
Yeah.
still You're still going to get colds. You're still going to get infections. Things are still going to happen because the body is fragile.
Mhm.
But what happens though, that when we have these skills of self healing, then it's not a big deal. Like end of February, I had a really bad infection. I had a testicular infection that really messed up my system down there. And it could go either way if I actually needed surgery or not. This infection was really bad. But it was like when I had that, when I heard the doctors got the diagnosis, there was no worry, there was no fear. It's like, I got this, no problem. So I just started doing my practices. And when I last saw the doctor, no surgery, everything recovered, everything's fine, everything's healthy. It went away, took care of itself, because I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't anxious about it. It's like, no problem. I got this. The diagnosis doesn't define me.
Well, and I hear you saying, these are the practices, and like for somebody to heal within their body, and I 1000% believe that it is possible to heal ourselves. That is, it's just the how to that I guess I get, because you say I'm not my thoughts, but our thoughts were with us wherever we go. I'm the only one who goes where I go, no matter where I'm at. And so
Right.
how do I begin to control those? Where I say, oh, I'm feeling like a little bit of sore throat. I got to go grab some emergency. I got to put a mask on. And all this fear just jumps on us like all of a sudden. And then that's our beliefs become that I'm going to catch everything that's around me. And all of a sudden I catch everything that's around me because those are the thoughts that I'm manifesting. What are some things how should I begin this practice of, no, you're not bigger than my mind is bigger, or my mind's ability to heal is bigger than what my mind's ability to not heal. I
Right.
guess.
Because that's what I call the mental interference, because what you believe will create your reality. If you're around somebody that's getting a cold and you're like, oh, I'm going to catch that cold, you will catch that cold. The mind is that powerful. But so we're really trying to do, like in the inner healing school, what I'm trying to do is a mind control practice. Really, how do we control the mind so we see that thoughts are just thoughts? We can either attach to them, we can let them go. And to understand that we're not our thoughts, we're not our body. These are our tools for our human experience. So just think of yourself when you were a toddler, a baby, a teenager, a young adult. You had all these changing bodies. But what is that one thing that has never changed? The one who sees through the eyes, the one who tastes, the ones who listens. You are the aliveness. The real you is the aliveness, the beingness, the spirit. So when I realized that I had thoughts, but I wasn't my thoughts because I could observe my thoughts. That was a big thing. You can observe your thoughts. If you can observe your thoughts, then you're not that. If you can observe the
Mm-hmm.
body, you are not that. But you are the aliveness, and the aliveness cannot be seen. You're not self-aware that you're awareness. It's like a really interesting thing. But if you can see those things, and it's really just a practice of a simple meditation, a mindfulness practice of just learning to be here in this moment, that we're either in the thoughts, which is usually dragging the guessing, dwelling on the past, or future guessing. The mind is rarely here in this moment. Like most people that are listening, are you aware that you're sitting right now, that you're listening, that your feet are on the floor? That's being present. Are you caught up in the story, the drama, the situation? So it's really just learning to be present. Like Eckhart Tolle, his big teaching is be here now. The power of now, like all of our power is in this moment. Anytime you're in your thoughts, you're actually making yourself weaker. If you're really stressed and anxious, you're lowering your immune system from not being present because you're so wrapped up in the drama, the story, the worry, the anxiety. These are default behavior patterns. So we have to rewire in a sense and learn to just be here and realize there's nothing to figure out. There's nothing to understand. They've actually done studies. Like if you're going to take a drink of water, your body
Mm-hmm.
has already decided to take that drink of water before you had the thought to drink water. They've proven that there's like several seconds where you're automatically grabbing that bottle before you're like, oh, I should have a drink. And the cup's right there in front of your mouth. But you already decided to grab that because there's that essence, that aliveness within you.
Yeah. And maybe you can help me with this because, I struggle with time in this whole construct with time because I think, the invisible world is the real world and we're just manifesting stuff in our physical world. And the reason that I believe that, because the invisible world is actually the now. Because in our physical world, there's only past or future, right? Because soon as I say this, it's now in the past. Or I
Mm-hmm.
can think of what is going to be in the future, but any outcome that I want to be in the future is made up. Like I make up, like you said, that I'm going to drink the drink of water, but I could trip and fall before I ever get the water to my mouth. It can be the future. So I can only make up. And I think, well, I might as well make up to heal myself than make up to hurt myself. But how do we live in the present? Because as soon as it's present, it's past.
Yeah, it's just really the best thing, the closest thing that you have to the present moment is your senses. So what I
Okay.
remind people that it's just about going through a practice. So if you're in a checkout line, what's the shirt of the person in front of you? What's the shirt of what's the color of the shirt of the cashier? What's
Mhm.
colors the floor, the walls? It's just looking around and being present. So it's really that simple practice of learning to be present, and everything can be a presence practice. You can really just be aware of this moment and not even identifying. Like, as soon as I say that this is a pen, I lost the present moment. I had to go into my library to identify it and label it and call it a pen. So it's just a simple, like, there's this object in front of me. That's all you can do. Otherwise, you're losing the moment.
And the moments aren't like hours or days. The moments are quick
Millionths.
moments. Right?
They're millionths of a second.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And so now back to healing ourselves because we're in the moment and we're telling our body what we expect it to do, what are we saying to our cells or our body or the things that obviously the invisible, unseen molecular structure, like in the structure what holds us together, that one person has the chronic multiple sclerosis and the other person has a perfectly aligned spine? What are we telling our systems?
We're telling your systems nothing. I tell people, it's about healing yourself without trying. So you just start to say, I
Mm,
need to heal myself. That's a mental interference.
okay.
You gotta let that go completely. Like I was never focused on healing myself. I was
Mm,
focused on inner peace. Through inner peace, I touched into my true essence, and I already knew the answers to do this, to do that. I had
okay.
the intuition, the insight that after I heard that voice was like, it's time to do yoga. My mind was a complete protest with that. You're not flexible. You have no balance. You can't do yoga. The mind had all those stories. But when I had that knowing that it was time to do yoga, I signed up for a yoga class and I did it. I ignored the mind. It's like the mind doesn't know what's best for you. The mind knows what's comfortable for you. So the mind doesn't want you to change. The mind hates change. You throw change to the mind, it's going to throw up a big protest. No, don't do that. We don't know that. The unfamiliar, the mind dislikes that. So I signed up for yoga. It was very tough in the beginning, but 6 months later, no cane. My balance was coming back. So I just trusted that knowing. And I just followed that knowing that there was nothing to figure out. It's really about to understand that you are spirit, you are soul connected to the infinite creator. All the steps are right in front of you. It's just a matter of learning to trust yourself and discern what is your true voice versus the mind's perception. And one of the ways we can tell, like when I heard that, when I knew that it was time to do yoga, it was like, it's time to do yoga. It doesn't go into the benefits, the results. It's like, just do this.
Let's do
And
it.
but if your mind will say you need to drink water to stay hydrated and all the benefits of drinking water, spirit will just say, your intuitive voice will say, drink water, less TV, do yoga. Short, sweet, 2, 3 words. That's it. There's no story attached to it.
I was with my granddaughter to the mailbox the other day. And we got this little scooter because I have to walk around the block over there to get to the mailbox. And she's on the scooter, and I'm kind of guiding her on the scooter, so she doesn't fall over. And it's like a 3-wheel scooter, so her chance of falling over are not big. But I'm just guiding her. And she stops and she gets off the scooter and she comes around and she looks at me and she's like, "I got this, Papa." And I kind of attribute it to my cells going, "Would you please just stop? We got this. We don't need your help. We don't need you interfering with the course. We already know how to heal your body. We already know how to make sure you're healthy. And you're doing all these things to stop it from happening." Is that kind of a great analogy or a good analogy of what's
Yeah, it's mental interference. The mind has its best intentions, but it's interfering from spirit, and spirit knows exactly what you want. Like, here's the plan. The body knows how to self-heal. You get a paper cut. You don't worry about it. You may put a little band-aid on if it's bad, but you just let it be. But if you were to obsess about your paper cut, it would probably get infected.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I think about now that you're bringing these up, I think about all the people that I'm around when something little begins to happen, how far they allow their minds to take it. I wrote a
Hmm.
the book. I wrote a book called "There Is No Tiger," which is about overcoming anxiety and overthinking, and some of the things that we're talking about. And it's the exact same thing. I mean, how much we'll ruminate on going down this path of this true tiger that doesn't exist is going to gobble me up and eat me before I can
Right.
ever do stuff, right?
Yeah, it's
So,
like my
go.
first book was I Don't Dwell because we're constantly ruminating. So it's like
Mm,
I no longer dwell. It's like it happened, it's done. We keep moving. I just don't sit there and keep things because the mind loves to drag the past into the present. It's not helpful.
ooh. I didn't even think about it. So we're constantly. Why do we try to so much drag our past into our future? What's our fear that the past is going to help us or the past is going to hurt? I mean, why do
The
we do
mind
that?
lives in the past. It takes every kind of past experience and say, oh, this happened before, and it likes to associate everything into the past. Well, sometimes that past is not helpful, and we need to blaze a new way forward. But the mind hates change. We need to understand the mind's primary thing is to keep you safe. The unknown is unsafe. So we don't take risks. We stay small. We dream small. We don't dream big because the mind says, "Oh no, not you can't do that. You don't have the skills. It's scary over there."
Is that where we find meaning? We find meaning in our past, and we associate who we are, our identity, with the good parts of our lives, the bad parts of our lives. Is our identity shaped mostly from our past before we try to move into our future?
Yeah, we had to tell people that we are not our persona, we're not our past, we're not our identity. These are all mental constructs, that we're simply here in this moment. We are the aliveness, the beingness that animates the body, and we need to let go of all these identities, these past. And one of the things that bothers me is be the best version of yourself. There's only one true version of you. Everything else is a mental invention.
Yeah, you always have to be becoming. I guess you're becoming whatever that is that we're doing, but not. There's no versions. There's no like version A. Oh, I'm gonna jump to version B and jump to version C, and you're just you.
Right,
Oh
but
my God.
people do that. They're constantly, I'm working on being a better version of myself. I hear this all the time. I'm working on being a better version of yourself. It's like, no, release all that and just be you.
Yeah, but you can improve, right? I mean, you can. When we think about
Yep.
goals, or are goals important, or is just we just abstract the things that we would like to happen, or and then we move towards it, or
Yeah,
how's it work in your
goals are,
brain?
yeah, so I say goals are good, but we don't want to obsess them. We want to give ourselves a direction to move in, or we can just sit like a bump on a log all day, but we're not here to sit all day and just be a bump on a log. Where we set those intentions, but we let them go. We say, okay, this is where I'm moving to. Even they talk about this in the Bhagavad Gita. We focus on the task at hand, not the fruits of our labor. We're setting those intentions to set a direction, but we're not like obsessing that like I have to make $1 million by this time. We just set that intention and we get out of the way, because your spirit will manifest greater than that. The mind will create a limitation. So once you get to that million, forget it. That's it. But spirit says, nope, we can go that direction and keep going that direction.
Yeah, I'm not a big goal person because I don't want to put a date on something that I have zero control of.
You
Zero,
don't,
even my ability to create it, I have no control of.
no.
But I do have, like you said, intentions, and I
Hmm.
set those intentions of things that I believe that I would like, and then I try to move towards those. Is that kind of what you're saying? Is don't obsess over this. I got to do this because if I don't, then somehow I'm a failure, and now we go down and start spiraling down that hole.
Right. You just set the intention and you get out of the way. You don't need to figure out how you're going to get there. That's a misuse of the mind, because the steps are coming from within you to do this, to do that, and sometimes it will make no sense, because that's really the misuse of the mind is trying to figure things out, and all we're taught throughout our life is go figure it out, and it's actually the misuse of the mind. The mind is here to take action from this deeper place. Like I know to do yoga, so the mind has to go execute that instruction. All right, go sign up to yoga class, perform yoga. That's where the mind comes in. But I wasn't sitting there I wasn't sitting there all day like, all right, body's sick. What steps do I need to do? I had no intention of healing.
Yeah. What should I expect from a yoga session, or 6 months of yoga, or 6 months of and I think of yoga as different. There's yoga which is a ton of meditation, and there's yoga that is physical stuff that you're doing. I mean, it's all encompassing in all sorts of it, and in
Yeah.
those practices. And sometimes I'll get online and I'll sit with the lady who's teaching me how to get ready for sleep, and I'll do all the things that she's teaching me to. And then she says, Namaste at the end. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to stay. I don't know what Mama is, but so what? I
Yeah.
mean, what's my expectation
Yeah.
here?
When I'm referring to yoga, most Americans know yoga as asasana practice. That's the forms, that's the moving meditation, but there's actually 8 limbs of yoga. So I'm talking about
Mhm.
the physical practice of asana that we actually try to get into this posture, this movement. And the first thing is let go of any demands or expectations. We just do our best in it. And you just, once again, set that intention. What is your intention for the practice? Is to get in better shape? Is to be more present? What is that intention? Just set that intention and just let it be. And you'll know with yoga, that asana practice or meditation will take you there.
But Papa said, I go to the gym. Yeah, and I'm saying this facetiously than that, but I go to the gym, and I'm more worried about what the people who are around me are seeing me do, and my movement and how I'm doing. And so I kind of just freeze on the mat because I'm so conscious of everything that somebody else, I believe, what I'm perceiving other people to be seeing me be able to do. How do we get that out of our heads and release that? Like, who
Well, the
cares
first,
about other people?
right, exactly. So why is their opinion important?
Yeah.
It's really that simple. You have to realize that no one lives in your world. No one's thinking about you. They might see you at the gym. They look around a different direction. You're not even on their radar anymore. They're not even thinking about you. They saw you. They're doing their
What
own
about
thing.
them?
They're not, yeah, they're focused on them. We get so caught up in our own story and we're thinking, well, what does this person think of me? What does this person think of me? There's a good chance they're not thinking of you at all. They're dealing with their own drama, their own situation. They're trying to survive this life as well to their best of their ability. So that's one of the practices too. We need to let go of the opinions of others. It doesn't matter. We need to let go of the need for permission, the need for validation, all that stuff. We just need to let it go. It's not serving us. It's creating a limitation. And I go to the gym, 3 times a week, but I exercise every day, do stuff at home if I'm not at the gym. I have a little workout app on my phone. I just follow my app. My app says, go do this. I go do that. I don't even think about my workout routine. I just follow the app, and our intuition is the same thing. And I said, trust the process. It's the process. So the app knows what my goal is. He says, like, okay, here's your exercises for the day. I don't question that. Like, why'd you give me this exercise? I just do it. And our intuition is the same way. It's like, okay, this is your intention. Here are the steps. Follow along.
Yeah. I mean, and what we're saying, it seems to be so simple. And I coach people on, started. They want to start a podcast. They want to, be able to express and learn from other people. And I get so much of, well, what if I can't use my own face on the podcast? People can't really see me, and it seems to be more women than men that are more worried about, we have to do an hour and a half of makeup or something before we can appear on a podcast. How do we help folks get through that caring that somehow is ingrained? I mean, is it just because of our society and we ingrain that so much that it matters?
Yeah.
How do we
It,
help people see through that the only person who really cares as much about how you look is you? Because everybody else is going. If you're so ugly that they don't want to see you on screen, then they're not going to watch you anyways. So you don't have to worry about it, But for the other, 6 million people that could care less about how you look, they want to hear what you have to say. You know,
yeah, because it's programming. We're programmed, constantly being programmed. Look at all the TV. Look at grade school. We're constantly being programmed. So the only way out of the program, once again, we're either in the mind or we're in this moment. So if you're trying to escape the program in the mind, be here. It's really that simple. If life is complicated, it's because the mind is making it complicated. Spirit is very step by step. Do this, do this, do this. It's so if you're trying to escape the program, it's about learning to be here. It's just really it comes down to that thing that the mind has all this programming and all this judgment. And loving yourself is so difficult because the mind says we're not good enough, we're not measuring up. But these are stories and opinions that we've taken on from someone else that isn't our truth. So the way to get out of that program is just really just to be here, feet on the floor, sitting, listening, keeping it simple.
if you're being here, is it harder to compare? Because I think that's our biggest hurdle is we're always comparing. We're always, and I don't know if we're looking for a contrast or we're looking for similarities, but we're always comparing. And if we're here now in the moment, as you're saying that we should be, does that take away from our desire or need to compare?
Yeah, there's no comparison when you're in this moment. It's really
Mhm.
that simple. There is no comparison. If you're here, you're not in the mind. So it's really just being here. And then if you really get into the weeds, we're the same energy within all of us. We're different expressions of the one consciousness from the infinite creator. We're all expressions of the infinite creator and all these different costumes and disguises that we play. It's like all the world's a stage and we are merely players. We're all playing these various characters, but you boil us all down, we all have the same essence, the same divinity within all of us. We're just in this big masquerade party and we think everyone is different. We start doing vicious things to other people with judgment, with criticism, with violence. And it's like, we're all the one same thing. We're all trying to do our best in this life to enjoy it. So why does it matter what they're thinking of you? They're not even thinking of you. They might see you for a second, they're off onto their own thing. They're thinking of you for a fraction of a second. They're thinking of it. Like all the people you ran into all your life, like somebody you ran into 5 years ago, they're not no longer thinking about you. That was 5 years ago, but your mind is still thinking like, oh, when I met them, I was in really bad shape this day. And you have all these stories about that meeting from 5 years ago, but they're not even thinking about you. We get to self-imposed trauma.
Yeah. I started doing this a little bit as I'm out and about and I'm talking to people, and we'll come across it. My wife will be with me. She hates when I do this because I'll walk into somebody and I'm like, "Are you thinking about me?" They give me this look like, and then I'll say, "Or are you thinking about what I'm thinking about you?" And then sometimes they'll just shake their head. Yeah, I was kind of wondering what you were thinking about me. And it just brings this big picture to the fact that nobody's thinking about you, nobody's paying attention to you, nobody's watching you. And if they are, they're either trying to learn because they want to improve themselves, or they're comparing, where they're trying to see what is it that makes me similar or makes me different than the person that I'm watching or doing about. And if I'm doing something that seems to be something that's important, they'll go, I wonder how I could do that too, or wonder how I could emulate that. If they see me walking and my wife and I have this great relationship and we're holding hands, what they're looking at is, how do I get that in my life? Because that's what I want, or something like that. But we spend so much time thinking they're thinking this bad thing. Oh, that's a really ugly person, so I hate the way that she wears. Well, even if they don't like your clothes, right?
Yeah. But we have to understand, though, it doesn't matter how you look, what your appearance is, it does not matter ultimately, because you chose this is abstract, but you actually chose your body and your experience. So you're having this exact perfect human experience for your soul growth. So it doesn't matter what your body looks like or anything. It's like, in a way, you chose this on some level to realize your consciousness was here before your body. So you were here before your great grandparents. I mean, you are that essence, the timeless. So to understand that we are like, every experience is perfect because there are no mistakes in the universe. It doesn't matter where you're located, your emotional state, your mental state, your physical state. It's the exact perfect moment where you're supposed to be, because it's allowing you to grow spiritually.
Yeah. My podcast is called Living Boldly with Purpose and Living with Purpose. And when I talk about, or I try to talk about purpose, for somebody who's able to live in the moment, how does purpose manifest itself in your way that you walk through life?
Yeah, well, the first thing, when I talk about purpose, you really don't know what your purpose is unless you know who you are. Until you know who you are, then you know your purpose, that deeper essence. Otherwise, it's just a mental construct that I'm supposed to be doing this, that, and the other thing. But it didn't come from the deeper place within you. So what I feel like, no one truly knows their purpose until they know who they are. Otherwise, it's just a mental invention.
Yeah. And how do we begin to discover who we are? What steps or what things do we need
It's
to do?
And once again, it's very simple. It's learning to be here in this moment and to separate yourself from the thoughts and the body. So the first thing we need to do is either mindfulness practice or a meditation practice, or maybe even looking at old photographs of yourself and just realizing, this is my body here, this is my body here, this is my body here. Look at all these bodies and really to understand, like, what's that one thing that hasn't changed? That place of truth, the place of beingness, aliveness. Then from there, we can see what our purpose is. And usually, purpose is usually some kind of service of helping humanity to live a better life, if you wish to call it that. But it's really because once you're here in this moment, you know that everything's interconnected, that we're here to help one another. We're here as a tribal society. We're not meant to go it alone. We're here to uplift and support one another. And if you're in the mind, then you're not really doing that, because you're not really understanding the interconnection of all things.
I'm looking at, and then, and I love watching people and seeing their backgrounds. I look at your background and I see a bookshelf and I see all the, the wonderful books that I'm sure that you read and are part of and a part of you. But then I see a sign that just says love, and it singles itself out. What does that word love mean in this whole construct or the whole concept of what we're been talking about?
You can think of love as unconditional love. Unconditional love is the infinite creator love. It's the essence of all things. It's the interconnectedness of having that love, that appreciation for another, having that gratitude, even for the smallest things in life. It's really just to remember that love is the divine essence and it's in all things. And we just need to come back into this place of love, that everything is going to be okay. We need to stop worrying, panicking, fear, because we are supplied and supported. We are always interconnected.
Yeah. When we think about relationships, how important are the relationships and the people that we spend most of our time with? I mean, I hear this all the time that, you are who the 5 or 6 people that you spend time with. How does that relate to being a miracle man and making sure that you continue to grow and be, I guess, in the moment, becoming better, not becoming, but being better, I guess. I don't know. Help me with
Yeah,
that.
so relationships, you just realize everyone that you're interacting with is really your own perception, because once again, we're creators of our own reality. But usually the individuals that are around us, like I said, there's no mistakes. They're helping us for a reason. If they're the wrong type of people, maybe it's there to wake up and say, hey, I'm hanging out with the wrong group of people. My life is miserable. It's terrible. I get locked up in all sorts of trouble. I get drunk. I got to stop hanging around these people. I got to find new people that can support and uplift me. So to realize, once again, there are no mistakes. So the people that you surround yourself with will usually mirror the direction of your life. Are they supportive, uplifting, or are they trying to pull you down? So it's just realizing that our relationships are important, and who we are around us is important, because who is around you will shape the direction of your life, because they're influencing you in some way. Because this is why I stopped going to like multiple MS support groups, bipolar groups, all these kind of support groups, because they always talk about what's wrong with them. If you keep talking about what's wrong with you, life is going to keep going in that wrong direction. So I was never a fan of support groups. Like, why you keep talking about all these problems? Oh, there's nothing going to make it stay in place. It's not going to help you. So you start learning to have this awareness. Once again, if you're present and you're aware, it's like, oh, I shouldn't be hanging around Jim. He's a troublemaker. I'm always getting too drunk when I hang around Jim, or he's getting me into some kind of trouble. I gotta shift elsewhere. And you do this, and you see, when you start becoming present, becoming aware, everything changes in your life. Who you're hanging around with, where you're living, everything just shifts to a more supportive environment.
You brought up the infinite creator a few times today as we've been talking. How does the relationship with the infinite creator, or how do you walk through life knowing that we've been created and that do we believe that we're here for a purpose, that he's brought us here for a purpose, or are we supposed to find that? How does your interaction or your relationship with the infinite creator?
Well, first of all, there's no separation. There's not me and the infinite creator. We are the one energy. And the infinite creator created everything to experience itself. So the infinite creator is just experiencing itself. So that's the way I see it. It's the energy of all things, and the planets, the universes, the galaxies, that pen, everything is that one energy of the infinite creator expressing itself. So once again, we're all wearing these different costumes, but it's just the cosmic game, you could call it. It's all the infinite creator, having fun, enjoying life, enjoying the creation.
And so, when we think about the physical bodies that you've been able to heal, that I'm working on healing, when that physical body ceases to exist because energy just changes form, what do you think is, does our conscious continue to move forward? What's your thought process on that?
Yeah, with that is that what I see is that this isn't our first rodeo on Earth. We're just here as spirit, and we're coming into different forms. It could be different societies, it could be different planets. There's no rules, there's no requirements. So as you as a spirit can say, I've had this human experience now for 500 years. I want to go have this experience now. I want to go play over here. And it just really is that we are the eternal energy that's constantly looking to create and express itself and through various different forms. It's a much different way of being. And we're not, I really don't like the term working ourselves. That really engages the mind that we have to do some kind of hard work, some kind of difficult practice, when it's really just to be here and just take those steps, that to realize that life is a practice. We're just doing our best. We just let it all drop away and just surrender, just to be here. And it's just one of these things we have to understand. And one of the things I'm curious about, I just want to dive into this a little bit, because you mentioned that before, that you're dealing with diabetes. So I want to talk about diabetes. That's an autoimmune disease.
It is. It's one of these things that I think it's also a lifestyle disease that, somehow, and I think somebody can have the exact same lifestyle, but it reacts to my body different than the same things putting into my body would act to somebody else's body. So what's your thought process on healing and through, is this something that, in your mind, that needs to continue, or is it something that I can heal through processes and steps and things that you outlined and talked about here?
Well, from my own experience, because I had three autoimmune diseases: psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, and multiple sclerosis. I had three. I was filled with a lot of self-hate, a lot of judgment, a lot of criticism. Everyone that I worked with an autoimmune disease has an element of criticism or self-hate.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone does. So the first practice that I see with autoimmune diseases is start loving yourself. Get rid of all judgment, all criticism. Why did I do this? I shouldn't have done it this way. That's criticism. You walk by a mirror, it's like, oh, why did I wear these clothes today? That's criticism. We let that go. We don't want to engage the mind in any judgment, any criticism. We want that to settle down, because an autoimmune disease is the body attacking itself. The only way
Mm-hmm.
it's attacking itself is you're giving it fuel through criticism and judgment. We just need to let all that drop away. And I've seen some really remarkable things happen when we can just start practicing like a self-love practice, that you're doing your best to realize, I am doing my best in this moment. It's never enough for my mind. My mind is never satisfied. It always
Yeah.
demands that I can do better, I can do more. Your skills are where they are right now. With practice, they get better, because the skills you had first driving at 16 or 18 are not what they are as a 30-year-old or 40-year-old. You
Yeah.
learned how to avoid accidents and other things, but you learned this over time. So our skills are getting better over time. And where your skills are right now is where they are. You can never do better than what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You're exactly what you can do. So it's really about letting go of all this criticism and judgment. And that is a practice. It's not the easiest thing to do, because we always beat ourselves up, like, why did I do it this way? Why did I do it this way? And we're constantly asking yourself, or to do better. And this is judgment and criticism. We just need to let that go. I've seen some really remarkable things when the mind gets out of the way and we allow spirit to lead the way.
Yeah. What else? I mean, so get rid of this self-criticism. My wife has a rheumatoid arthritis, and so we're both gonna, we're starting these journeys together, which is even a more intense autoimmune, disease than diabetes is. And so
Yeah.
I agree with you on the self, self-reflection and the self-hate and the self, what would be something else that we could work
I'm
on?
just talking about even the subtlest. I'm talking about the subtlest form of criticism and judgment. That's why I was looking at, you go by a mirror and you look at yourself and you cast a judgment. Even that subtle form is no good. We need to stop all that. You see yourself in a reflection, you just smile and say, doing a good job.
Doing good, loving it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know,
That,
it's
that
real.
is
We
good.
got to we got to simplify life. We're making it too complicated.
Well, we do, and the more we have technology, the more we have access to things that are beyond our understanding and comprehension, the more and more we just continue to, make those as excuses to be victims of whatever that's happening. This has been amazing. I have loved it. I want you to be able, we're in our last few minutes here. I want you to be able to express whatever you want to make sure that we all know, and then be able to tell us, how do we get a hold of you? How do we get to your stuff? Or if there's stuff to get to, let me know what that people could journey more, because I love what you're saying, and I want to stay in touch. When I start thinking, hate myself, I'm gonna call you up. I'm gonna say, "Oh, Sam, help."
Yeah, I got some really remarkable healing stories, and I can't explain my abilities. They just happen. That they do call me Miracle Man for a reason. One of the stories I like to share, an elderly lady came to me. She needed right knee surgery. She's like in her 60s, 70s. She's like, before I get this knee surgery, I'm going to schedule a session with Baba Sam. I want to see what he can do. Well, one of the things I do is I bring doctors in from the spiritual realms.
Okay.
That's one of my abilities. So I'm working with her. I'm like, I don't usually get doctors' names. Like, do you know this doctor? He's telling me his name. She's like, oh yeah, he's my childhood doctor. And he's making, I hear him. He's making a joke. Once a patient, always a patient. So,
Mhm.
and to this day, I worked with her about 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little longer. To this day, she still hasn't had right knee surgery. It's just cleared up.
Oh,
And I
so
have many stories like that where, well, if we can get that mind out of the way where it's not interfering, and even some of these physical things where we need a physical operation, bring in the spiritual team and we just see what happens. So yeah, I have basically a few things going on, but beyond head trash is the main one. And from there, that will lead you to the inner healer school. If you go
okay.
to my website, you'll see my first book is there. You can download that for free. And then I have my inner healer school, and that's very affordable. I'm live every week teaching a class. They're all recorded. I'm always teaching something to help us step into our power, of how we're getting in our own way, because we're always getting in our own way, 1,000 different ways that we're getting in our own way. So we talk about how to trust the process of just to relax. The best thing we can do for ourselves is to relax, because then you're touching into who you really are. And there's no rules to relaxation. That's the best thing. There's no rules. So we just relax, we let it all go, we drop away, we just come into who we are. So I might be on Head Trash and get a book there. I have an inner healer class for free they can watch. I really try to make myself accessible to everyone, because I suffered for 38 years with no sense of hope or cure. I had canes, I had walkers, I had wheelchairs. I have none of that today,
Wow.
because I stopped taking the mind as a source of truth.
Yeah.
So they're really puzzled, no more bipolar, no migraines, no arthritis. It's just gone, because spirit knows how to heal. We're just getting in the way of allowing spirit, that divine essence, saying, I got this. Relax, give yourself a timeout and just relax. Let me do what needs to be done.
Yeah. So it's noheadtrash.com or
Beyond head trash, beyond. We
beyond
want to go
head trash.
beyond, because the head trash is all those negative stories that we're not good enough, we're not worthy. It's all the
Mhm.
anxiety, the worry. It's all head trash, and we want to throw it out, and we want to go beyond our mind and into who we really are, that vibrant soul that's illuminating our path forward. And the mind is constantly throwing up the lampshade, up, nothing to see here. And you keep wondering why things aren't changing, because the mind really dislikes that. So, but my purpose is for people to realize you are your best healer, because you live in your body, you inhabit your body. You know what's best for you, but not a mental figuring it out, but just by relaxing and saying, oh, I need to eat this now. I need to go do this. I need to go do this. And it's just following step by step, that you can say spirit is leading you to the promised land where your goals are or your outcomes. But your mind is saying, oh no, we can't go there. We need to figure this out. We need to sit back. We need to regroup. We need to go watch 100 videos, read 10 books, make sure I'm going the right way. You don't need any of that. You don't need validation. You don't need permission. Just be you.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Baba Sam, for being on today. Beyond Head Trash, you need to
Be-
go to the sites. You need to he's got a free book for you. If you need to contact him, if you need just the guidance that, I have just been enlightened. It just makes me want to get on my journey faster. It makes me want to go further and to really start looking in the mirror. I'm ready every time I walk by the mirror to say, "You got this. You're good." All the wonderful things, because I have a choice, right? I could say there's all these things wrong with me when I walk by the mirror, or I can say all these things are good about me when I walk by the mirror. I have that choice, but I want to live in the moment. And I think
Yeah.
that's one thing that I think is hard for us to do sometimes, is just live in the moment. I thank you for reminding me how important that is, to be
Yeah.
able to do that. It is so good. For those of you who are subscribing, we continue to have just incredible guests that continue to get onto these every single time. I can't wait for the next one, and I hope you can too. But please contact us, and please, go at least look at his site, go look at the things that we've talked about today, because we've spent an hour talking about a way to improve the person that you are. You have any one final thought before we exit?
Well, realize when you just said you improve the person that you are, realize that you're already perfect. When you let go of any judgment, any criticism, you're perfect just the way you are. You're having this experience. If you then just to be you and set those intentions and watch the weight drop off, watch the income come, watch the relationships get better, watch that new job come. You don't need to figure all that stuff out. You're blocking your abundance, you're blocking everything. Just be you.
Absolutely. All right, just be you. We will talk to you on the next one. I believe you're God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to, and we'll look forward to talking to you on the next one. Have a wonderful day.